have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness. Michelle, Brock, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
We're going to have some fun with this. It was an incredible moment, right? A passing of the torch moment on this Olympic Friday, one for which the ancier elements of our politics, maybe some in the Democratic Party, have been eagerly awaiting. Republicans especially somehow misinterpreted President Obama's initial praise of President Joe Biden and silence on Vice President Harris in the immediate aftermath of last weekend's dramatic events as maybe a snub. But just as in 2020, when President Obama resisted pressure to endorse a candidate before Bernie Sanders dropped out of that race, the 44th president may have sought to avoid putting his thumb on the scale within his own party. New York Times explaining it this way, quote, one person familiar with Mr. Obama's thinking said this week that he saw his role as helping to quickly unite the party once we have a nominee. But Harris's burgeoning appeal is not confined to big and important political figures, as vital as they are. No, what makes this moment so unique in our politics for the vice president and her campaign, what makes her candidacy so potent and frankly terrifying for Republicans, is what's happening everywhere else, propelled by a sense of newness and optimism and generational change. Harris's campaign is raking in cash from first-time small donors, just as big donors are homing in. Previously disengaged Americans are waking up to this election, connecting with the Democrats' messaging anew, online and in person, perhaps heeding the call from the most beloved contributors to our American culture who are also tuning in. Some see the Obama endorsement as a holy grail, and it is, but don't underestimate the effectiveness of something like this from NBA superstar Steph Curry.
Vice President Harris is primed to bring her energy to this campaign, and hopefully, if she's on the ticket winning the election, like it's a big deal to say the least. And she represents the Bay Area. She's been a big supporter of us, and so I want to give that energy right back to her.
There are 102 days, but who's counting, until the presidential election? It is an eternity in politics, especially if the last week is any guide. But one thing is for certain when it comes to enthusiasm and the attention of the general public beyond politics, Vice President Kamala Harris and the Democrats don't have to pretend. They just have to ride this wave. It's where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Founder and president of the National Action Network, host of MSNBC's Politics Nation, the Reverend Al Sharpton is here. Also joining us, Democratic pollster and MSNBC political analyst Cornell Belcher's here. Hollywood reporter, special correspondent, our friend Lachlan Cartwright is back with us. And Los Angeles Times political writer Seema Mehta is here. Rev, I want to start with you. The work has to be done. Of course it does. It always does. And the vice president has achieved this thing in politics that is impossible to manufacture. There are debates because there are opportunities for each side to switch the momentum. There are conventions because it's widely thought of as one of the only opportunities to change the dynamic in a presidential race. Other than an outside event, and we've had just a few of those in the last 3 weeks, momentum is next to impossible to create or manufacture. And Vice President Kamala Harris has just about all of it.
She has all of it, and she knows how to handle it. What she has to be wary of, and I've told her this, is you're running against probably the most unconventional presidential candidate in history, who has no boundaries. You have no idea what he's going to do from one moment to the next, because he has no idea what he's going to do from one moment to the next. But let's remember, for the first time in American history, You're running against someone who not only was former president, that's happened before, but you're running against someone who is running for his freedom and his money. This man has absolutely facing 3 more potential trials, already convicted of 34 felonies, and will be sentenced probably before the election, whatever that will be. And he's already had a judgment against him in over $500 million. So he has everything that he has to fight for here. And if he fights desperate, we don't know what that would look like. So I think she's got to fight not only like she's the underdog, but that she's fighting someone that has no principles and no boundaries.
Cornell, I like that contrast, though. He's fighting for his freedom. She's fighting for ours. She has grabbed the mantle of freedom. It's her walkout song at this point. It's the track in the first video that the campaign released. And it is her message. It's how she's articulating the fight for safety from gun violence, the fight to make our own choices as women about our bodies. She's wrapping it all in freedom. Good choices?
Well, it's almost as though she's been listening to your show for the last 5 or 6 months, because it's something that we've been leaning into. Maybe she's watching you right now, but it's something that we've been leaning into.
Yeah.
She's been I'm glad they're leaning into it, because I do like it from a thematic standpoint, because it is hopeful and is optimistic, right? And look, I think what she says, I choose freedom, I think that should be on her campaign sign. I think that's her hope and change, right? And it's always, pointing it forward and optimistic, right? The most successful American leaders that we've had over the years, be they Republican or Democrat, have leaned into this American optimism, this exceptionalism. I mean, even your old boss, in 2000 vowed to seize the moment of American promise, right? And so there is something about an optimism that Americans want to gather around, and it energizes, as opposed to, beating down in sort of America, and that sort of Gotham, making America Gotham City, not a shining city on the hill, which is Trump. It sort of pulls the energy down. I think this is something that pulls the energy up, and it sort of helps mobilize voters, but it also means higher turnout. I'm building and looking at things right now at a higher turnout today than I thought we would see if that was building this a month ago, looking at sort of where voters were, especially younger voters were at that time. I think we're on track now to actually have really strong turnout because of the momentum and the energy.
Cornell, you never sugarcoat things. What are you, as you sort of look at the race today and how it's changed with President Biden stepping out of the race and endorsing the vice president and her solidifying support, how do you sort of evaluate the state of the race today?
The state of the race today is, and I'll steal something from my friend Chuck Todd, who said, I think the vice president is the most famous unknown person in the world. And right now, they're going to have to spend a lot of money to fill in the blanks for the vice president. There's a lot of energy, but we've been doing qualitative research, and they just don't know a lot about her and sort of her past and her background. There's a lot of negative stuff on the internet about how she's locked up a lot of people, which is just fundamentally not true. So they're going to have to spend a lot of money filling that in a short period of time, which is difficult. But they do, Nicolle, they have the money, as you've talked about early on, and they have the infrastructure to do it. And when you look at the energy, I think she is the closest thing to building on and expanding that Obama continuum, that coalition continuum, as we've had since Obama stepped off the stage.
Yeah, I mean, Lachlan, we have seen with her, I know from working on campaigns, especially Republican campaigns, that Hollywood is its own solar system, right? It has its own gravity. You don't tell anybody there what to do. They do it when they feel moved to do it. It has sprung into action, and it's not really top down. It's a bottom up. Just tell me what's going on with the celebrity culture when it comes to Vice President Harris's campaign and momentum.
It's been quite extraordinary. Nicolle wrote a story for The Hollywood Reporter only 10 days ago about Hollywood donors' anger towards Jeffrey Katzenberg, who they felt had deceived them into believing that Biden was in a better condition than what he was, and that they were angry, they had stopped donating, they had basically given up. And speaking to those same donors, those same Hollywood executives just in the last few days, it's night and day. They're enthused. The checkbooks are back open. They're back out there. And Hollywood is very much behind the Veep. In a way that I think that, cannot be underestimated. I mean, these people will give and give and give and are highly organized. And I think we're just going to see that momentum continue through.
Seema, I want to ask you about, this shift, because there is so much reverence in our politics for President Biden. In Hollywood, it is, and I don't mean this I guess I do mean it in a derogatory way, it's more transactional. And some of that anger was they didn't feel like they were getting what they were putting in. Just talk about how the hope and the optimism around Harris might activate parts of sort of entertainment and culture that might have never been available to either the other two gentlemen at the tops of their tickets.
I mean, this does remind me of when President Obama, when he first ran, and once it became clear that he'd be the nominee over Hillary Clinton in 2008, as well as in 2012, in terms of the excitement among Hollywood donors and just donors in California. California is a huge donor state. It usually gives the most. It almost always gives the most to the presidential candidates of both parties, and the level of excitement recently has not been so great. I mean, there were certainly some very large fundraisers here. Haim Saban had a very big one for Joe Biden recently. There were some others, but it felt more like sort of status quo pro forma. And there does really seem to be a ramped up sense of excitement. And in terms of not only, I think, because of her candidacy, she's younger, she's more, I think, more energetic. But the idea that I think they think that there's a better chance of winning. I think there's a real concern about not being successful.
She's also from California. Let me show you, Rev, some of the early praise for the vice president from Oprah and others.
There's a great district attorney in San Francisco whose name is Kamala Harris. She's brilliant, she's smart, she doesn't look anything like anybody you ever see on Law and Order.
San Francisco's district attorney pressed Congress to repeal a law that she says makes it much tougher to fight crime.
This will shackle the hands of law enforcement and government in our ability to be able to detect where and to whom guns are being sold.
With a 90% conviction rate, superstar prosecutor Kamala Harris made history when she was elected California's first African-American female district attorney.
I mean, it's an interesting point that Cornell makes, sort of the most famous unknown person. I know some political strategists are angsty about getting her up on television. Her bio is extraordinary, and I think some of the excitement in Hollywood is that they know her, and you heard Steph Curry there say she's always supported us. We're going to support her. But talk about making sure that story scales across the entire country.
No, I think the story has to be brought across the country, and no one knows better how to do that than Cornell Belcher. But I think that when you look at the fact that she was able to have a law enforcement background in terms of district attorney in San Francisco, state attorney general in California, and then on to the Senate, every time she had some effort by others, her opponents, to say, oh, she's with the cops, which is what Cornell was referring to. She won anyway, because first of all, I think they underestimate the fact that people understand we need somebody that is in those positions that will be fair. But at the same time, we need to put that message out there so it's not distorted as some are doing. Because if you put her record up against Donald Trump's and put a record up against J.D. Vance, it's almost a joke to try to compare the two. And when you look at the fact that she's had such a way of winning across racial and age lines. I've known her since she was a DA in San Francisco. She has shown the capacity that if her message and background is put out there, that she can bridge more of the gaps that customarily frighten people in politics.
Yeah, I think that the idea, Cornell, that the Trump campaign will remain in its sort of flustered crouch would be foolish. And I'm sure the Harris campaign isn't lulled into any complacency. But they had this moment where she's dominating the earned media cycle so completely. And one of those issues is around the debate. I mean, he is sort of shriveled into a ball of fear at the idea of debating her. Let me show you how she's responded.
I'm ready to debate Donald Trump. I have agreed to the previously agreed upon September 10th debate. He agreed to that previously. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready. And I think the voters deserve to see the split screen that exists in this race on a debate stage. And so I'm ready. Let's go.
I'm ready, let's go. I mean, she's sort of full of taglines and slogans. But to that, Donald Trump says, oh, I don't think so.
Well, first, I do have to give a nod to, I like the clip where you showed the late, great Gwen Ifill. And I know all of us in the business still miss her. But it's something that Donald Trump never wants to look. And because it is at the core of his brand and his existence. But right now, he looks weak. And he particularly looks weak, like he's running from a woman, which is something that the pseudo tribe, a big bad tribesman, never wants to do. And I think so I think he's in a really awkward position. But at the same time, he knows, in fact, if he has a debate with her, the prosecutor, she's going to prosecute the case effectively against him. So he's kind of in a no-win situation. But right now, it looks really weak on his part for him to be running away from the debate, and she is doing the absolute right thing. The campaign's doing the absolute right thing, not letting him get away with it, calling him out for it, because the last thing he wants to do is seem weak. And right now, Nicolle, he seems weak.
All right, everyone's staying with us. We're gonna keep our momentum up about how she keeps her momentum up. Also ahead for us, all the plans and vetting and strategies taking place behind the scenes right now, turbocharged by the last 7 days in American political life. The latest on Vice President Kamala Harris's road to the nomination and who she might select to join her on the ticket. Mark Elias, who knows the ins and outs of all of that, will be our guest. Later in the broadcast, dozens of former Department of Justice officials are warning about what is at stake in November's election. We'll talk with two of those DOJ alumni about why they are sounding the alarm about what a second Trump term would mean and backing Kamala Harris. All those stories and more when Deadline White House continues after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Power E-Trade's easy-to-use tools make complex trading less complicated. Custom scans help you find new trading opportunities, while an earnings tool helps you plan your trades and stay on top of the market. E-Trade from Morgan Stanley.
With Chewy, it's never been easier to get their favorite toy delivered. Again.
Let go.
And again. And again. Good luck. Get whatever they love delivered right on time. Save 35% on your first auto ship order. With Chewy. Lumify?
It's kind of amazing. Wow. Lumify eye drops dramatically reduce redness.
In 1 minute.
And look at the difference. My eyes look brighter and whiter for up to 8 hours. Lumify really works. See for yourself. Lumify.
You need T-Mobile home internet with 5G.
Wait, T-Mobile has home internet?
What a feeling to have T-Mobile now.
Any response to the trade rumors we keep hearing about?
Oh, we talking about moving? Not the trade. Not the trade. We talking about moving. No, thank you.
You could use Open Door. Sell your house directly to them. It's easy.
I guess we're moving.
At Care.com, it's easy to get a break, even if you're not on summer vacation. Join millions of families who've trusted us and find caregivers in your area for kids, seniors, pets, and homes. Go to Care.com now to find the care you need this summer.
We need a small business loan fast.
I got this.
Loan cannon!
There's a better way to get a fast small business loan. Go to OnDeck.com, and if approved, get your funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine.
Well, she doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy.
Even a term policy?
Even a term policy!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-738-1300 or visit CoventryDirect.com.
Progressive makes it easy to save with a quick commercial auto quote online. So you can get back to your monster to-do list.
Really?
Get a quote at progressivecommercial.com.
Compared with other chews, one Vervecto chew protects from fleas and ticks for 12 weeks, nearly 3 times longer.
Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurological disorders. Protection that lasts longer? Bravo, Brevecto. Bravo.
Saturday, September 7th, Brooklyn, New York. It's MSNBC Live Democracy 2024, our premier live audience event. Maddow, Psaki, Reed, Hayes, Kornacki, and more. Visit msnbc.com/democracy2024 to buy your tickets.
We're back with the Reverend Al Sharpton, Cornell Belcher, Lachlan Cartwright, and Seema Mehta. Lachlan, let me show you some of the Kamala memes. When we talk about organic, I'm not sure there's anything more organic than what happens online. These are a few of them. Kamala Harris has announced that if elected, she will ban the use of rolling barn doors in hotel rooms for bathrooms. People want doors they can shut during their most private times. Kamala Harris says she will bring back the Miller Lite Vortex bottles if elected. Kamala Harris has announced that if elected, she will sign into law a bill requiring Spice World to be available on Netflix. It's just a sample, but there isn't a candidate in the race who has a more vibrant sort of meme existence than one of the two presidential candidates.
And what's extraordinary to me, this hasn't been manufactured, Nicolle. This wasn't the campaign ready to go, putting this stuff out there. It's happened organically. It's happened, with kids sitting together and putting these memes together, using the Charlie XX Brat album as a backdrop for one, using Kendrick Lamar for another. And they have just grown organically, and the campaign has been incredibly smart to lean into it. And I've been speaking to some Gen Z voters, and they made a good point to me, is that, their first real experience with an election was when they were 13, was when Donald Trump was elected. And then fast forward, to 2020, they were living in the middle of a pandemic. They've never had an election where there's some hope. They've had elections when there's been fear, but not hope. And this has been a moment that I think has really energized a segment of the population that is usually disenfranchised. And we're going to see when they come back on campus, those conversations that are happening offline right now will be happening in person. That is going to translate to kids registering to vote. That is going to translate to them having real conversations with their parents. And I was just speaking to the Rev about this past week, as well as covering Hollywood and politics. I also cover media. This has just been an extraordinary week, and it has been an almost flawless rollout from the campaign that you just sit back and think, wow, we were all waiting for this moment. We've had, a pretty heavy last, few weeks of news. And I just think that what we're seeing online and what we're seeing being energized by a generation that is usually fairly disenfranchised is nothing short of extraordinary. And we should all, on this Friday, really embrace that.
Yeah, listen, I think, Seema, what young people have rejected is the failure of leaders, right? I mean, there are kids who have spent their whole time in school having active shooter drills, and then they spent the whole pandemic at home separated and isolated from their friends and their teachers. They kind of came of age and maybe thought to register to vote, and each party had nominated their oldest nominee in each party's history. And all of that, in a moment, just like that, has changed. I wonder what you're sort of seeing that tracks with what Lachlan's talking about.
I think that's definitely true. And if you look back, I think to probably when most of us, when we were younger, we saw a lot of presidential candidates that represented generational change, whether it was Bill Clinton, whether it was Barack Obama, whether it was George W. Bush. It was a different time compared to what we've seen in recent years. So I think Kamala Harris potentially really has the potential to energize young voters and voters of color. But also, I do think, while she's had an excellent week, they've rolled this campaign out, the rollout has been incredible in terms of the pacing of the endorsements and everything else, and also sort of letting J.D. Vance, Trump's vice presidential nominee, talk about childless Catwoman, which for the record, I am one. They've handled the media masterfully, I think. But I think, we also have to remember, not to be a downer, but her 2020 presidential campaign did not go well. I mean, she dropped out like 2 months before the Iowa caucuses. So she struggled in that campaign to find a message, but also she was competing against a bunch of other Democrats. So she's not competing against a bunch of other Democrats right now. So it is a different situation. But I think that while, I think Democrats are optimistic about her run, there is some potential for things to, there are some potential obstacles that the Democrats shouldn't ignore.
Rev, how has she changed since that 2020 run?
I think that she has grown in terms of her skills are better. She has certainly been able to handle pressure under fire, and you cannot prepare for that. You have to grow into that. No one can prepare you to be vice president and now a presidential candidate other than someone that maybe has been there and give you some advice, but it has to match your temperament. So she has been able to, I think, grow just naturally. She already had the grounding. She always had the talent. But I think that the temperament and the ability to really take the incoming fire has been very noticeable to those of us that know her. She's comfortable in her own skin, and she gets everyone else at ease around her.
Cornell, how do you sort of take this week and sustain it for 104 days?
That is the million-dollar question, right? It is hard to do through the slugfest that is, as you know, that's coming, right? It's the slugfest through August, and is a daily grind of the campaign. So it happened organically, and I want to underline what Rev says there. She is so much better today than she was a couple of years ago, right? And the office and the time, the space has sharpened her in a way that it tends to do with leaders. I mean, she's really comfortable in her skin right now as a leader, and the best do get that way. I mean, a lot of you all forget, Obama wasn't what we have now in 07, right? Its skills get sharpened, and you can see that in her. But I think a lot of it is about allowing the young people to continue to do what they're doing, right, and not get in the way of it. And this does harken me back to 08, when early on, when Obama, 07, 08, when Obama announced, like, young people on college campuses started organizing on their own without the campaign events for Obama. And many years ago, people would pull back from that because they want to keep a tight control of the message and a tight control of everything around the campaign. Today, I think it's more like, look, the most creative and best minds are out there. The influencers, they're out there in social media spaces. And heck, Nicolle, I still don't know what brat means. But they're out there doing it. And you just get out of their way and let them keep doing it.
All right, Lachlan, I have to give you the last word. Take us to school on brat.
It's way above my pay grade, but no, I think it's embracing the young girl in all of us, and she's certainly done that.
All right. We'll try to keep up with the cultural wave here. It's quickly outpacing the political nerds of America, but I think that's a good thing. Cornell Belcher, Lachlan Cartwright, Seema Mehta, thank you so much for starting us off. The Rev sticks around for the hour. When we come back, Vice President Kamala Harris is vetting vice presidential picks. We'll talk to our friend Mark Elias, who helped with her vet for President Joe Biden's VP selection process. Deadline White House continues after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
The sale of the summer is on. Wayfair's Black Friday in July is happening now, and it's the talk of the neighborhood. Because now through July 29th, you can save up to 80% on everything home.
Yes!
Save on fines for indoor and outdoor. And get surprise flash deals you don't want to miss. Plus, everything ships free, straight to your door. Save up to 80% off with Wayfair's Black Friday in July, now through July 29th, and light up your summer with savings.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hi! Need new glasses? Buy one pair, get one free at VisionWorks. How can you see me squinting? I can't, I'm just telling everyone. Hey!
Buy one pair, get one free for back to school. VisionWorks. See the difference.
Oh, man, I love a good hotel breakfast.
Same.
And it's so close to the stadium. I managed to get the last room for $190.
I booked the last room a week ago.
I booked yesterday. One night, $140.
What?
How?
Some sites panic you into booking their last room, but they don't have all the availability. Instead, use Trivago. Trivago compares hotel prices from hundreds of sites, so you can save up to $50 a night.
Well, at least I got the last ticket to the game.
So did I.
Hotel Trivago.
The best things in life come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 thumbs up. And now, buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, 2 months free. All with fast, reliable, nationwide coverage. Make the switch today.
I'm Andrea, and this is why I switched to Shopify. It gave me so much peace of mind. If we make a change, my site's not going to go down. And just knowing that I have a platform that we can rely on, that is gold to us. Start your free trial today.
Dude, dog food in the fridge?
It's not dog food. It's Fresh Pet. Real meat, real veggies.
Real weird.
He was bad luck anyway.
I got this $1,000 camera for only $41 on Deal Dash.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20.
I got this KitchenAid stand mixer for only $56. I got this barbecue smoker for $26.
And shipping is always free.
Go to DealDash.com right now and see how much you can save.
Waiting till Friday to get paid is tricky. Then I heard about Chime. Now I get paid 2 days early, no fees. Early payday guarantees that I can make it to any gig, any rehearsal, anytime. Join me at Chime.com.
As you know, as an emerging business, it's important to keep your budget intact. And Fiverr freelancers helped us maintain quality standards while efficiently managing costs, contributing to the success and growth of our business.
This summer, snacking just got serious. Introducing new $3 footlong dippers. The world might not be ready for them.
But at $3 a pop, your wallet definitely is.
Super Beets, America's original and #1 selling beet brand for heart health support, is now available at Walmart. More cardiologists recommend Super Beets for heart health support than any other beet brand. So head to Walmart and try Super Beets Heart Chews today.
Even before Vice President Kamala Harris picked off her history-making first week on the campaign trail, Republicans began plotting what frivolous legal action they could take to try to keep President Joe Biden's name on the ballot should he decide to step aside, as he did. Here's House Speaker Mike Johnson Sunday morning before the president's announcement.
Look, I'm a former litigator, you know, a constitutional law attorney. I just made note in some comments over the last week that they have real problems. I mean, every state has their own election system. That's our constitutional system. That's the way it's done. And in some of these states, it's a real hurdle. They have a real problem of replacing the nominee at the top of the ticket.
It's part of the Republican strategy of sort of saying something often enough that they could make it true. But any legal action really wouldn't get very far, considering the fact that President Biden was not the official Democratic nominee, and ballots have not started to be prepared. No candidate is the official nominee until after the Democratic Convention delegates hold a roll call vote. That is scheduled to happen on August 1st. Today, a new survey at CNN finds that 48 states say that Harris can get on the ballot instead of Biden, rejecting the claim from Republicans that the switch breaks state laws. Joining our conversation is someone who knows, voting rights attorney, the founder of Democracy Docket, Mark Elias. The Rev is with us as well. I think 5 minutes. I actually, Mark, you were the first person to send me the text and the copy of President Biden's letter announcing he was leaving the race. And Rachel asked me on the air how I found out. I said I heard from you. So thank you for being my early weather system. But you also tweeted moments after the president's letter became public that the vice president will be on all ballots in all 50 states. Will you explain that to us?
Sure. First of all, before the conspiracy theorists begin, I didn't know anything more than anyone else. It is probably a commentary on the sad life I lead, on how much I follow Twitter, that I got it before you did and sent it to you.
No, you sent me the post. It was all public. Everything was public. I was in the backyard with my baby. Nothing behind the scenes. It was I think like 1:55. So that's how behind I was.
Okay. So just wanted to clear that up because we'll have a whole new set of Mike Johnson crazy. So look, I mean, there is frivolous. There's like Rudy Giuliani frivolous. And then there's what Mike Johnson is trying to spin you, which is even more frivolous than the usual nonsense we get from Republicans. The only gripe I have with the CNN analysis is that they should make it clear that Kamala Harris will be on all 50 ballots, plus the District of Columbia. As you point out, there is no current Democratic Party nominee. The Democratic Party will choose its nominee when the delegates to the Democratic National Convention vote as part of this virtual roll call vote. And then at that point, the DNC will certify to all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia, who their nominee is. And then that name will then go automatically under every state's ballot access law, will automatically go onto the ballot in all 50 states. So, Mike Johnson is an excellent insurrectionist. He is a mediocre Speaker of the House, but he is a terrible constitutional lawyer.
So there's always a why, though. What is the why for why they are sowing doubt at this point?
Look, I think they're desperate, right? I mean, like they planned an entire campaign to run against Joe Biden. Chris LaCivita and Susie Wiles were taking victory laps with the reporters in the Atlantic about how they were ready to take on Biden and win a landslide. And now, all of a sudden, instead of Joe Biden, they have Kamala Harris. The only place I would disagree with your prior guess is as someone who was her general counsel to her campaign in 2020. She was an excellent candidate in 2020. Sure, she's better now, but she was a great candidate then. And we are lucky to have her now. And the RNC is scared of her. Donald Trump is terrified of her, which is why he's backing out of debates. And it is a joy to watch Mike Johnson squirm as he realizes his days in the speaker's chair are numbered.
So knowing her as you do, what do you think her approach is to selecting her own vice president?
Look, I think Kamala Harris is a very prepared person. She, in that respect, reminds me of some of the great elected leaders of our time, people who are very, very prepared. Nancy Pelosi is someone who is very, very careful. She never called a vote in the House that she didn't know she was going to win. And that wasn't by accident. It was because she was so prepared. And so I think that Vice President Harris will take her time. I think she will look over all of the range of options in front of her. And then I think she will ask the question, who is going to be the best person to help me govern this country through a period of difficult times? And I'm sure whoever she chooses will be a great choice.
She is an incredibly powerful voice on something you and I have been talking about every week, sometimes multiple times a week, and that is the effort by Republicans to make it harder to vote. She's a real advocate for voting rights. Let me show you some of what she's had to say.
The baton is in our hands. We, who believe in the sacred freedom to vote, We who are committed to fight to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. In this moment across our nation, we witness a full-on attack on hard-won, hard-fought freedoms. While you teach students about democracy and representative government, extremists attack the sacred freedom to vote. We must continue to stand together in defense of freedom. We who believe in the sacred freedom to vote will make sure then that every American has the ability to cast their ballot and have it counted.
She's an incredibly sort of talented political athlete, if you will. And I haven't heard this formulation, but I love it. Extremists attack the sacred freedom to vote. The right to vote and making it easier to vote is another 80-20 issue in terms of the views of the American public. American people understand it's something that should be getting easier as we become more modern, as we become more tech-friendly. And because of the Republican extremism, it's getting harder. Talk about her as a unique messenger on this single issue.
Look, I mean, part of the reason why I am so passionate about voting rights, part of the reason why I have become such an advocate of this has to do with the influence that Kamala Harris, frankly, had on me during her time in the Senate. You know, people don't realize that when she became vice president, the one issue she said that she wanted to be front and center on was voting rights. If you look at her convention speech, if you go back and read it, accepting the nomination as vice president, she talked extensively about this topic. You know, a really underreported thing is she was one of the best advocates in the days of the pandemic. When she was in the Senate, she introduced one of the best bills that didn't pass, but it was a forerunner to the Freedom to Vote Act. That was really a very, very smart bill to try to solve the problem for voting in 2020. And you know, there's a lot of talk in recent days, at least in the Jewish American community, about what politicians feel in their kishkas. And I can tell you, as someone who has spoken to Kamala Harris over the course of years, she feels democracy and voting rights in her kishkas. It is central to who she is, and she is probably the best leading advocate right now in the country, even before this, on this issue.
We can't have this conversation without bringing the Rev in. I have to sneak in a quick break first, but to be continued on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
Democracy is egalitarian, which means it's for everyone. But it also, I think, is a divinely inspired gift of our forefathers to show us that we can lead ourselves.
Why do some things have to be so complicated? We don't know either, Stanley. But at least when it comes to dental care, Aspen Dental makes getting new dentures and implants easier with the technology and expertise to give you the right fit. And $0 down plus 0% interest if paid in full in 18 months. Making things as simple as they should be. It's one more way Aspen Dental is in your corner.
Whoa, how'd you get your teeth so white?
You gotta use the right toothpaste.
Dr. C? Not all toothpaste whiten the same.
Crest 3D White removes 100% more stains for a noticeably whiter smile.
New personal best.
Crest.
Introducing Allison's Black Psoriasis. She thinks her flaky gray patches are all people see.
Otezla is the #1 prescribed pill to treat plaque psoriasis. Over here. Otezla can help you get clearer skin and reduce itching and flaking with no routine blood tests required. Doctors have been prescribing Otezla for over a decade. Otezla is also approved to treat psoriatic arthritis. Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can happen. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Some people taking Otezla had depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur.
With clear skin, Girls' Day Out is a good day out. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla.
Nice to meet you. My name is David. I've been a pharmacist for 44 years. When I have customers come in and ask for something for memory, I recommend Prevagen. Number one, because it's effective, does not require a prescription, and I've been taking it quite a while myself, and I know it works, and I love it when the customers come back in and tell me, David, that really works so good for me. Makes my day.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022, and the threats are more than you realize. If you're a victim of identity theft, LifeLock works to fix it on your behalf, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. Enroll now.
My melasma made me feel really ugly. I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. I just hated taking photos.
How am I ever going to get rid of it?
Stop suffering from melasma. More than 600,000 people have regained their confidence with Muesli's prescription treatments.
In the first 2 weeks, I was amazed.
I looked at myself in the mirror and I just thought, I'm back. I've been telling everybody about it. It's been life-changing.
Find the real you again. Go to muesli.com/TV.
We're back with Mark Elias and the Reverend Al Sharpton. We have all been on the air and tracked the efforts in 48 states to make it harder to vote, some of them unfortunately successful. Rev, the New York Times today reports this. As Democrats prepare for a sprint to capitalize on the excitement of a new presidential ticket by signing up new voters, they're finding entirely new barriers in Florida and some other states to the sorts of voter registration drives that have been a campaign staple for both parties. How well prepared are we to work around the Republican voter suppression efforts?
I think very prepared. I think that many groups, both at a state level in terms of state government and in independent advocacy groups like the group I lead nationally, have now gone through this cycle for 3 or 4 different elections. So we know how to deal with it, both fighting in the legislature where they're trying to stop voting by drop boxes in some states, to things where they're actually trying to interfere with voter registration. Now, it does not mean that it's not challenging, but I think that many groups have more expertise and more experience and know where to try to penetrate than when we were caught off guard years ago. I also think there's a determination among those in the state legislatures to fight those, particularly in states that are dominated by red states, by red legislatures, who want to fight this, how they fight this battle on the legislative floor so the public understands what's going on.
You know, Mark, we covered, I think, months ago, maybe even years ago now, Cleta Mitchell's effort to make it harder to vote on college campuses. I wonder if there are renewed efforts now because of the excitement among young voters over Kamala Harris's candidacy to make sure that those Republican efforts are unsuccessful.
So, look, I can tell you, and you know this because we've talked about this, my legal team and I fight every day in court to protect the right to vote, particularly for Black, brown, and young voters. And there is nothing short of a massively well-funded operation on the other side targeting exactly those groups. So to Reverend's point, you know, we sued Wisconsin to restore drop boxes, and we won. We sued Wisconsin to prevent unnecessary rejections of mail-in ballots due to problems with witness signatures, and we won. We are suing Florida, and we are winning in Florida against some of these voter registration efforts. But, you know, as quickly as we are able to bring these lawsuits, the other side is erecting barriers. They are not only passing laws, they are not only trying to stock the election offices with election deniers, but they themselves are going to court. And that is one of the things that Democracy Docket we cover a lot of, is how much anti-voting litigation right now the Cleta Mitchells, the Stephen Millers, the RNC are bringing in court every day to try to use the courts as a tool, not to protect constitutional rights, but to deprive them.
You know, and Rev, you look at what everything Donald Trump did in 2020, there was almost more effort involved in overturning a defeat than there was in turning out his own base, right? He's working as early as July to deny the results of an election that hasn't transpired. Tom Fitton, his ally, sends an email about refusing to accept the results the summer before the fall election, 6 months ahead of the deadly insurrection. What is our obligation to anticipate in terms of what Trump might do this time?
I think that we must anticipate it. He sent every signal early that this is where he's going to go. Donald Trump will never concede an election. And more importantly, he will try to make a lot of his followers and supporters to have a very cynical view, unless, of course, he wins the election. And again, he's fighting for his life. This man's not only fighting to win an election, he's fighting for his freedom and his money. And I think that he will continue to plant seeds of doubt. And I think that Mark is right. There's a well-financed machine that is trying to deny people's rights to vote. And I think that there are people like Mark and others that are skilled at fighting this back. But we must back them 100% because it's about saving the democracy, not just empowering certain communities.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, I wonder, I know that you and your legal team are everywhere all at once, but what does everyone else have to offer to this fight?
Look, everyone has something to offer. I mean, you know, let's start with all of the groups doing the hard work on the ground to contact voters and turn them out and to educate them and to register them. Reverend Sharpton is exactly right. That work is going on, and it is critically important, and it is vitally important that it also be funded. And then every citizen in this country has an obligation right now. You know, in 20 years and 30 years, if you are watching this, I promise you, your children and your grandchildren will come to you and they will ask, in 2024, what did you do when democracy is at stake? They're not going to ask you about gas prices. They're not going to ask you what was going on Wall Street. They're going to want to know when Donald Trump was threatening democracy's very foundation, what did you do? So each and every one of us can do everything. You can volunteer for a campaign. You can volunteer to be a poll worker. You can volunteer to work for a civic organization, nonprofit organization, doing voter registration or get out the vote. And most importantly, you can speak out in your town square on social media to your friends, your families, at your bridge club, your knitting club. Tell people it is critical that they register to vote and that they vote for Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party ticket up and down.
Mark Elias and the Reverend Al Sharpton, thank you guys. All this energy on a Friday. I'm so grateful to both of you. What a way to round out the week. Thank you. A quick break for us. We'll be right back.
Did you know how you feel can be affected by the bacteria in your gut? Try New Align yogurt-coated probiotic fruit bites. With a delicious apple and blueberry-flavored fruit center and yogurt coating, each bite is infused with added probiotics to help promote a healthy digestive system every day. Plus, they're packaged in individually wrapped pouches for daily digestive support on the go. Look for New Align yogurt-coated probiotic fruit bites online and in the digestive care aisle of your local retailer. Brand Power, helping you buy better.
They get it. They know how it works. And most importantly, it works for them.
I don't have any anxiety about money anymore.
I don't have to worry about a mortgage payment every month.
It allowed me to live in my home and not have to pay payments.
If you're 62 or older and own your home, you could access a portion of your equity to improve your lifestyle. A reverse mortgage loan can eliminate your monthly mortgage payments and put tax-free cash in your pocket.
It was the best thing I've ever done. And
really?
Yes, without a doubt.
These folks know. Finance of America can show you how a reverse mortgage loan uses your built-up home equity to give you tax-free cash.
It's a good thing.
So look, why don't you get the facts like these folks did and see if a reverse mortgage could work for you?
Call Finance of America and get your free info kit.
Call 800-963-9445. Stay tuned to learn more about this limited-time offer from Renewal by Andersen.
We all have that list of home improvement projects we need to do, and if replacing your home's windows and doors is on that list, you want to know that it's going to be affordable. I'm from Renewal by Andersen, and we've helped thousands of customers who are on a budget get our windows and doors for their home. How do we do it? Well, here's something you don't expect to hear from a window company. You don't have to upgrade all your windows and doors at the same time. We're really good at identifying the bad windows and those you can wait on replacing. And here's something we offer that you don't find with a lot of window companies or contractors: great financing options. With Renewal by Andersen, you can have monthly payments that'll probably be lower than your cable bill. With another program, you can get windows and doors now and not pay anything for an entire year. No wonder half of our customers finance. Before we talk about the warranty, think about other things you've bought. Did it sometimes feel like you had to buy the expensive extended warranty to get the good coverage? That's never the case with us. Our windows are so durable and our installers are so talented. Unlike some other companies, our warranties cover the windows, patio doors, and the installation.
It's really impressive that they sell the product, they manufacture the product, they install the product, because then you're dealing with one company, and you're dealing with one company that has a long-standing and solid reputation.
Let Renewal by Andersen help put great windows and doors in your budget this year.
Before July 31st, buy one window, patio door, or entry door and get the next one for
In the words of more than 40 former DOJ officials who have served under presidents from both political parties. The next hour of Deadline White House starts after a quick break.
You've got too much on your plate to worry about what to put on it next. That's where we come in. We're Factor, your one-stop shop for fresh, fully prepared meals, packed with premium ingredients and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes flat. Did we mention delivered right to your door? Yeah, we got that covered too. Looks like eating well just got a whole lot easier.
Visit factormeals.com/peacock50 and use code peacock50 for 50% off.
Never clean your gutters again with LeafGuard. LeafGuard's seamless design keeps leaves, pests, and sediment out while directing water away from your home, giving you peace of mind that your home and family are protected from water damage with the industry's premier maintenance-free gutter system. Call 844-6LeafGuard right now for a free estimate and save 20% plus $500 off your purchase and installation. LeafGuard. Get it today, protected for life.
Democracy is egalitarian, which means it's for everyone. But it also, I think, is a divinely inspired gift of our forefathers to show us that we can lead ourselves.
One of the things I like about what I get to do is that each day is pretty unique. I might wake up and find out there's a brand new poll out, and I want to dive into it and get something on air about that poll. Or I might find out that there's not a lot of new numbers in the world today, and so today's going to be a day I'm going to spend researching, learning about a state, about the different counties, about the voter history, about the demographic trends, and just committing that all to memory. The only way to really be prepared is to get it all in my brain ahead of time.
candidates for the FBI have to go through background checks?
Yes.
Would someone with dozens of felony convictions survive a background check for the Bureau?
No.
So they would never be hired by the Bureau?
No.
Well, clearly the Bureau has, you don't have to comment on this, I know you won't, but clearly the Bureau has higher standards for their hiring than one of America's great political parties.
Hi again, everybody. It's just a fact, isn't it? It's 5 o'clock in the East. The list of jobs not open to a twice impeached, 4 times indicted, convicted of 34 felony counts and found liable of sexual assault disgraced ex-president is long and growing. That kind of rap sheet means, among other things, the FBI